Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear Danny, and should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. What did we talk about? Yesterday was Five Nights at Freddy's, wasn't it? The movie, which, I said my piece on. I actually have something else to talk about today, which is, kind of. And I say kind of because what I was going to kind of talk about today was smartwatches, because I now kind of have one, except for it's not really a smartwatch. What it technically is, it's one of the Xiaomi things. I don't know. It's basically a friend had like a spare one or something, and she already had a smartwatch, and it was originally given to another friend who was going to give it to a family member, but then the family member didn't want it, so now I've ended up with it as a sort of trial period, because I was like, I wonder if I should get a smartwatch or not. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:49 PM on Monday, November 13th, 2023. So what this basically is I don't know, I think it's basically the equivalent of a Fitbit or something. Something to track your activity level. And I'm going to be honest, I'm very sedentary, so, I've not really done like any activity today. But that's a general concept of it. The main reason I wanted one was I wanted to track my sleeping patterns, my sleeping schedule, am I sleeping well or not, because I did use Pokemon Sleep for a bit, and Pokemon Sleep was, as far as I can tell, pretty decent at tracking sleeping, at least according to my friend. But like a week or so I used it, basically all my sleeps were basically 5 minutes immediately into deep sleep, stay in deep sleep for maybe the majority of the night, and then wake up at my alarm times, or before, which is fine. But Pokemon Sleep was a bit of a hassle, I think, to use and set up, and the fact I had to keep my phone plugged in all the time, it's not great because I don't have a very accessible plug socket near my bed or anything like that. So I was just like, I wonder if I should get a smartwatch or something. But the thing is, smartwatch is an investment, and it's an investment which is a weird one, because I'm not particularly convinced I would even use a smartwatch particularly well. There's some things where investment wise I'm like, I don't know if I'd use it as well as I could have, but I know I have a potential. It's when I talk about with Ableton Live, or one of the other versions of it. It's I know how to use Ableton. I am interested in music making, I suppose, as a concept. So even if it costs a reasonable sum of money, then at least it's an investment which I feel like I could be worth it. I just need to sort of get into the diligence of actually using it in the first place. But the thing is, the smartwatch is very expensive. If I was to get one, I'd probably get a Pixel one, because I have a Pixel phone. I actually ordered a new Pixel phone. Now, that's an investment I definitely know I will use. I use my phone every single day. But a smartwatch itself, I was when it first started getting popular, I was I don't really see the need of it. But strangely enough, when a Fitbit got popular, I was hey, that makes sense. Something to a mobile way to track exactly what you're doing, the calories you're burning, the movement you're doing, etc., etc. It makes sense if you're not even a particularly active person, someone who's just curious about how active they necessarily are. To me, a Fitbit always made sense, but a smartwatch never quite made sense, because I was obviously you're not using a smartwatch just as a watch. If you do that, you would buy a watch. So it's got to be for the functionalities you have in it, and I don't really know what other functionalities you have. You can play music or control music from it, I think, which at the time I think was actually more cool. Nowadays I feel like most people control music through Bluetooth earbuds or something. There's often some sort of control. So I think I can even do it on mine, except I can't remember how to off the top of my head, because I never use them. I suppose when I get my new phone, that's when I start using those wireless earbuds a lot more, and then start getting used to them. And you might be like, hey dear darling, do you find it sad you don't have headphones, earbuds anymore, which you can just plug in and use? There's always times, tablets, laptops, etc., etc. Times to use them, I suppose, any time there's a socket. If I don't know how to use it on my phone, then that's fine. It's about times, I suppose, I got with the times, because a lot of the times I'm kind of reluctant to get with the times, because I'm with technology there's no point. But nowadays the technology has evolved to the point where it's at least pretty reasonable. Is it still accessible? Yes, I would still. I'm sorry, not accessible. I guess it isn't accessible, but if I was given the choice, would I still prefer the option to use a wired headphone? Yes, of course. But that's not increasingly not becoming an option. So it's what am I going to do? I still want a new phone, I suppose, at this point, and I've still got to get a new phone eventually. So it's I might as well go with it. But yeah, a smartwatch itself is controlling music from it. Okay, nah. tracking sleep and like health related things, okay, that's cool, but again, Fitbit sort of things do that in the first place, which I guess is, if anything, is consolidating a Fitbit into like a light version of your phone. This one doesn't have too much functionalities. It's got, I don't know what status is. It's like how far you walked and stuff, how many calories you burn. I don't even know what PAI was. It said, do you want to turn it on? And it said it would like half your battery life. And I said, I don't even know what it is, so I don't know why I would do that. PAI. What is PAI? It just opened Paimon.moe, which is a Genshin website. What is PAI? Equity fund? No. Smart watch. What's a Mi Band thing? Excuse me, can I just... That's what this is called, Mi Band. I think it's a Mi Band 6. Huamin Amber's personal indicator of physiological activity. What? It replaces step count. Give a heart rate data as an indicator of personal activity. Okay. So it's sort of just like not an arbitrary value, but it's like a metric for how healthy you are being, I suppose. Fair enough, I suppose. I don't really want it to drain up half my battery life. Maybe I should, just to sort of experiment with it and see what it's really like. Okay, you know what, I don't know. But the main reason I'm borrowing, well, I'm not sure if I'm borrowing this or if it's just mine. Like, I'm more than willing if my friend is like, oh, my family member wants to actually use it now, but I'm like, I'd be more than willing to give it back, because I've only used it for like a day or two, and I'm like, I've literally, I think, never used it. Like, I haven't even looked at it because I don't know, I'm just not used to it. I think if I start being more active, it's something which makes more sense for me to have and use. I do find it useful to track your sleep. I would never check like my phone notifications on this. The screen is tiny. It's like smaller than my thumb. Like how I guess I would use it to like look at maybe notifications, like see someone sent me a message or something, but I feel like I hold my phone most of the time anyway, so I would just take my phone and look at my phone if I got a notification. I guess if I'm not near my phone, when it's an easier thing to carry around. And I think smartwatches can have very sleek looking interfaces. I don't think they necessarily look bad. I think it very much depends on the design of a smartwatch and the user interface that you've decided to use with it. Do I like it more than a generic watch? I think it's different, you know. It kind of feels like, what sort of look are you going for? You're going for like a more cyber... well, I was going to say street look, but you can get some very sort of like streetwear-esque watches, can't you, as well? I was picturing like a Rolex or something, which I don't have, mind you, but I feel like it sort of fits with a much more modern styling. And I don't have anything against the sort of cyber-esque aesthetic. It's just, I don't know. I think it's too expensive for me practically to use. I mean, maybe this is where you've been like, hey dear darling, why didn't you pounce on the deal to get a smartwatch plus a phone, you know, when they were like being given out together. It wasn't like you pre-order Pixel 8 and you get the smartwatch or something for free. But, you know, at the time I wasn't like that into the idea of getting a new phone. It was only sort of like in recent weeks, so I was just like, I probably should get a new phone. And again, I don't know if I would use a smartwatch. I think part of it is also I've not really like accustomed to using it in my life. But I don't know, like, what the heck is breathing? Relax yourself in a guided breathing exercise. Do I want that on my phone? I don't know if I care that much. Alarm? But the point of a smartwatch, I think, is basically to have like light features of your phone on your watch. But the thing is, the light features which are present on the watch are not features I use all that often on my phone in the first place. Like, I think the one I use the most often on here would be maybe the step counter and the alarm. But those, like, the alarm, I don't even like set it very often on my phone. It's just at a consistent time, and then when I wake up in the morning I turn it on, turn it off, that sort of thing. And then step counter I just sort of like check out of idle curiosity, if anything. I think I'm just not the target audience for it yet, you know. I feel like you had to be either very techie or very not very techie, but pretty techie, pretty sporty, I suppose, for it to, not that you would find use out of it. I'm sure many people have found uses out of getting a smartwatch, but for me personally, I just feel like I don't quite fall into either of those demographics yet to actually use this properly. Now, I think, if anything, maybe it should shame me into doing more exercise is kind of like the motivation behind it in the first place. Or maybe it's because this thing is so small. Like, the thing I have is a Mi Band, as I said. It's basically the width of my fourth finger. It's actually, no, it's a bit wider than my fourth finger. Maybe more like the index, my index finger, the widest part. Like, I could cover the screen basically with my index finger alone, and it's basically the top 2/3 of my index finger. If you want a size sort of comparison, it's too small to practically do anything on. I think there's an argument to be made that having a smartwatch is bigger. Like, I've seen my friend's smartwatch, and it, you know, having a bigger interface, I think does probably mean I would be more inclined to use it. But this is like so tiny, which is like to the thing where really it's just kind of like a splash screen. I think also part of it is the fact I have not given it a lot of permissions to actually like do stuff with, nor have I really explored. But I guess because this was more something I did out of curiosity rather than like, I'm not a tech reviewer. I'm not here to try and get an in-depth view on actually using a smartwatch and seeing or getting the best mileage out of it and what features it has. This is more of an idle curiosity of being like, if I just like picked up a smartwatch, would I use it? There's not like a strong drive behind it or anything. Like, is it enough? Is it basically enough that I pick up and use one and I'm like, these features on it are so fantastic, I've got to keep using it? I don't know. Let's see. Reddit. Smartwatch use. Like, how do people use that smartwatch? What do you use a smartwatch for? Because maybe I just don't know what the potential of it yet. I use a smartwatch as an extension of my smartphone. That's it. That's fair. That's basically what I was saying, I think. Use it for navigation, turn directions on the wrist whenever I drive and I need to go somewhere new. Actually, for navigation, I can see that. You have it open on your phone, but navigating with your phone out is really annoying. Especially because a lot of the time when you navigate with your phone, the only thing you need to do is like, oh, turn left here, turn right here. You don't need to know the exact street. You don't need to see the entire map the entire time. And to be fair, the phone does have a feature for that, where basically when you're walking along with your phone in your pocket and the screen's off, it will vibrate to be like, hey, you need to turn here. But the thing is, it can't really tell you which direction to turn. But if you had it on your watch, you could probably just like glance down at it and it would probably just be like a left arrow or something like here. I can see that. Okay, that fair enough. I've not had to navigate anywhere new yet, so I've not really used it for that. That I could see myself using it. I use it whenever I train, but basic stuff. I don't expect extreme accuracy from it. I expect a certain margin of error, but works off what it's supposed to do. Counting steps, distance, heart rate. That one, again, is one I can actually see genuine use for. I'm just not active enough, I think, to get the mileage out of it. Notifications is a big reason why I own a smartwatch. I don't need to pull out my phone to see who texted me and what they said. See, this is a thing where I think the smartwatch definitely is not where I'm getting a mileage out of, because if someone messages me, I want to see it and I want to respond to it like then, if I can, unless I had to think about it. Like, very rarely would I be like, oh, who messaged me? And then I will just like dismiss it completely or something. You know, I guess if I'm busy doing something, I would like have a quick check on my watch, being like, oh, you know, John Doe texted me or something. But I don't know. I feel like it's fine for me personally to check on my phone. Maybe it's because I'm just used to it, to be perfectly fair. There's a lot of things which I don't see the useful because I'm used to my way of doing it. But as soon as I start doing it another way, I might be like, this is so convenient. I can see a use being like, who texted me? But a lot of the times I just look over to my phone and I'll be like, oh, it's a WhatsApp message. Oh, it's a Discord message. And I can probably guess most of the time who's texting me. If not that, then I just touch my screen and, you know, see who it actually is or something. That doesn't feel like enough of an inconvenience, especially because I keep my phone near me all the time. But I think the argument to be made here is I'm thinking about it from a wrong perspective. If I had a smartwatch, it means I don't need to keep my phone on me all the time. I just need to keep it nearby. And then when I'm walking out, like walking around, I don't need to like pick up my phone and take it with me. I can just keep my watch on me. If I get a message when I'm like, oh, okay, and I'll reply to that when I get back to my phone. Or if it's like an emergency, I'll be like, okay, let's respond to that right now, etc., etc. That's fair. I don't know. I think, like, I can't see me doing that, but I can understand it, if that makes sense, you know? Same for replying, although not ideal. I would never reply using a smartwatch interface, unless it was just, like, it was one of the preset things you can send, like, yes, no, or whatever. Whenever there's traffic or when I need to use public transportation, if there's a train breakdown, I instantly get a message to my wrist, which allows me to change plans on the fly. Okay. So notifications from other apps. See, this is another thing, is I tend to turn off a lot of notifications from other apps because I just don't like them. And to be perfectly honest, there's some notifications I will not turn off. Like I won't turn off my banking transaction apps or things like, you spent X amount from like you're using your Google Wallet or something. I'm not going to turn that off. I want to know how much I spent. Amusingly, I think I have a lot of my video game notifications on, but that's normally because that's normally just sort of out of, I don't know where to turn it off in the settings. Because again, they're in Japanese. I'm not that fluent in Japanese to be able to navigate a settings menu all that well. Certainly I can guess, but sometimes it's a bit useful to just like be like, oh yeah. What do I feel like doing? Why not just start playing this game a little bit? Take incoming calls with it, extremely convenient. Interesting. I very rarely do phone calls nowadays. I think most of my communication goes through messaging. So maybe that's, maybe it's just sort of a sign being like, hey, you're not the target audience of this. This makes it super convenient to take calls, the same way that like a Bluetooth headset used to back in the day for business people. I'm just not that sort of business person. Using watch faces I designed, I not only have a time but also basic health info. And with the complications, I also additionally choose to have weather at all times, which updates every 30 minutes or an hour. I feel like my phone does that on my home screen anyway. Yeah, I got time, notifications, weather. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair. That's very, very fair. I think it's just pointing to this is not the right point of my life to be using one, to get one, to buy one. And that's not a bad thing. If anything, it saves me money. Maybe I should talk to my friends who have smartwatches more, what they use it for. Put other types of info. When you have lots of events during the day or week, you can easily keep track of them and warn you when it's coming soon. Okay, that one is not as useful to me, I feel like, because one, notification on my phone, and two, I do tend to remember events as they happen. But I think that's just how my brain works. But it's a watch face you can potentially create or buy that fits your taste. I think that's true. I do like with design aesthetics, I suppose, with customization aspects of it. Smartwatch equals silent phone equals happy me. Does your watch not make a noise? Or is a watch silent as well? I don't actually know. Daily notifications, reminders, YouTube music, sleep tracking, steps, exercise. I think, yeah. I don't know. Setting a timer for my morning tea. Mostly a watch, but I use a health metrics as well. Interesting. This person is this engine assembly tech. So instead of pulling off your glove and digging through your phone to get a pocket, you just pull off your glove slightly to make or receive phone calls. Interesting. I think I just need to get more active. And then when I get more active, I'm like, oh, using my phone is such a pain to track like my exercise. Bada bing, bada boom. Time to get a watch, smartwatch. I'm not like trying to find reasons to get a watch. I'm just trying to figure out if it's right for me or not. Eventually you'll find what your use case is. To be fair, I do need to give it a time of day. It's literally been like 2 days maybe of me wearing it. But the biggest thing, which is super weird, I was actually wearing it on my right wrist most of the time. Because I don't know, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to find that I'm trying to use my left hand for more dominant activities and things. So I don't really like keeping it on my left hand. But I found that it's going to make me sound so crazy, but for some reason it felt really like sharp, like uncomfortable on my wrist, and I can't tell you why. It wasn't too tight around my wrist or anything. It wasn't pinching a nerve. It was, pretty loose. I could fit like 2 fingers in the wrist strap, but it felt like there was like this sharp sensation or whatever on like underneath the watch face or something as I like was wearing it, and it was like it didn't get painful, but it got like really annoying, and like it kind of felt like pins, I suppose, or like needles sort of like pricking into my skin or something, which was, I was like, am I having like an allergic reaction to the watch? What's going on? And then I put it on my left wrist, and I still get it sometimes, so I don't know why that necessarily happens. Like, is there anything on the underside of this? I mean, it's got the sensors, but I can't imagine the sensors are what's like particularly triggering like my, I don't even know, because this is like a photo sensor, isn't it? But there's something about it. I'll try it again on my right wrist, because I do prefer it to be on my right wrist than my left wrist. There's something about it which just felt so weird. I don't know why. Like, it felt surprisingly uncomfortable to wear it. And not because it was too tight. That's a key point. It was not because it was too tight. And I don't know, like, if that's an actual phenomena or something. I don't know if it was, like, a mental thing. But it definitely was, like, put me off it a little bit. Alright, let's try it again on my right wrist. Right wrist. I think maybe my wrist is just a bit too bonily, weirdly shaped for this. Maybe I need to make it even looser. The thing is, if it's too loose though, then it goes like so far up my wrist. It's sort of like, I don't know. I think also it doesn't feel very comfortable. Why are you so sad, Apollo? What happened? Because the watch itself, I want it to curve around my wrist, but it's basically like a flat bar on the top of my wrist, which feels very strange. Like, it feels like I'm holding a stick up to my wrist, and it doesn't like really curve with my wrist very well. But I don't know. I think a watch is for if you find it annoying to dig your phone out of your bag every so often, which is totally fair. I don't know. Smartwatches are stupid and unnecessary. Unpopular opinion. I'm not going to say stupid and unnecessary. I think just not for me. Silent alarm. Oh, I don't know you could do that. Running. I think the running thing. Running and Spotify. Okay. I think, again, it's just I need to be more active. It's just I need, like, if I could play music and then track my fitness on it and I did more fitness stuff, I think it would be a slam dunk. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this episode up here because I need to record some Happy in Paradise episodes. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.